You're listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
Infinite diversity.
Live long and prosper, and welcome to Infinite Diversity, a Star Trek Universe podcast here on the BQN Podcast Collective. I'm your host for today, Thad, and joining me is my co-host, Chrissie. Chrissie, how are you today?
I'll be right with you there. I just got to get a hot dog from this vendor. Yeah, two, please, with ketchup. Yeah, nothing else. Just hot dog, bun, and ketchup. Yeah, thank you. I'm doing good. I can't believe the food here. It's great.
The food generally is better before the apocalypse, yes.
That's true. I think that's true. I've also made some people mad by putting ketchup on a hot dog, but
yeah, the entire city of Chicago is no longer listening to this podcast.
Okay, I'm sorry, but I'm still going to do that. How are you doing, Thad?
I'm pretty good. Feeling like some things that I thought happened at certain times are no longer happening at those times, and it's a little weird, but I'm just going with the flow.
Sometimes that's what you gotta do.
So, since this week's episode of Strange New Worlds takes place mostly in Canada, we brought in BQN's resident Canadian as an expert to talk to us about how Canadian this episode is or is not. So joining us today is BQN's Kevin Scharf. Kevin, how are you today?
Hey, how are you doing, eh? Things are good here, up in the Great White North. Take off, you hosers.
Happy Canada Day.
Happy Canada Day. It's been a great weekend. Everything just sort of fell into place with this episode and Canada Day, and yeah, no, it was great. Mm-hmm. It was really fun.
That had to have been planned. I'm sure they did this episode this week because of Canada Day.
Yeah, there were so many Canada in jokes. It was noticeable. Yeah, so
I just absolutely loved when Laange tried to like jog Kirk's memory about what Canada is. He's like, politeness, maple leaves,
and poutine.
Yes.
But think about the positiveness of that. It hasn't changed in, 300 years, 200 years.
Exactly.
So that's great,
I'm very happy to know that we are still known for that.
I mean, I wouldn't want to live in a world that didn't have poutine, so...
Really? Tell me about it. I agree.
All right. So before we start talking about Canada too much, which we will definitely do, we should take a moment to thank our Patreon patrons who make our show possible, particularly our associate producers, Carl Wonders and Chrissie De Clerck-Szilagyi. Listeners, you can hear your name listed as one of our associate producers for a monthly subscription of just $10 at patreon.com/BQN. And with a monthly subscription of just $5, you can join our meetings of the Hive Mind on the second Saturday of each month. Watch your Patreon messages for details. No Star Trek news this week, other than we still don't have a new home for Prodigy. There is still no way in the United States to legally watch the second half of season 1. Kevin, you can still watch it for a month, so that you got that.
Yep. I should just put it on a loop and watch it constantly so that they know how many people are watching.
Mm-hmm.
There we go, yes.
I hear that the Blu-ray sets are sold out, that you can't find one anywhere.
Yes, and the Blu-ray set is, as we've mentioned before, only the first 10 episodes. Because it makes sense that it was split into 2 Blu-ray sets because they aired them a year apart, which is pretty common for some kids shows. So that's not... I think the only one who's actually upset by that particular thing is former host of the show Brandon Shea Mutala, who refuses to call the second half of season 1 the second half of season 1 and calls it season 2. Other than him, I think most people, whatever. I don't care what they call it. Just let me watch it.
Interestingly, I don't know if it was the same way on Paramount, but on Crave, the first half of the season is only listed as 9 episodes.
Yes.
And the first 2 episodes are put together as 1.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I believe that's how it was listed on Paramount too, but production-wise, it's still
It was
10
2,
episodes.
yeah. They list 19 episodes on Crave, and there's technically 20.
I kind of like Brandon's way of doing things now that it's been canceled, because it means when the other one gets released, we'll have 4 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know.
I like your optimism that the other one's going to get released.
I think it will.
I just... The idea that this would be sitting out there almost done and nobody is going to buy it, it does not make sense.
That the studio is still finishing it. Like, that's...
Yeah.
They didn't lay off the people working on it. They are still finishing the product. So, yeah, it has to show up somewhere. And I think if somehow they don't find anyone willing to buy it to stream it, it will probably get a physical release at some point, too. I would hope.
Yeah, that's true. They could just dump it on DVD. There's no reason they won't have given up the rights to do that. Would they have?
I doubt it. I hope not. Because if they have, we may never get the second half of season 1.
Yeah.
Well, from the way the creators talk on Twitter, it sounds very, very, very likely that things are going to stay. That show is going to come back somewhere. Aaron Waltke and the Hagermans have both been very positive about it.
Yeah,
although I wouldn't place money on Twitter being here to stay.
That's true. Although, okay, according to Trek Central, here's some news that's sad news for us here in Canada. It says, for those who watch Star Trek via Crave, here are the dates listed for their show's removals. So on July 24th, Prodigy, the animated series, Deep Space Nine, and Short Treks are leaving the service. And on July 31st, the original series, Next Gen, Voyager, Enterprise, Discovery, Picard, and Lower Decks are leaving. But there's been no date listed for Strange New Worlds, which they'll probably keep showing that through to the end of the season. They
probably have a contract for this season.
That makes sense, yeah.
So that's sad. That means I need to subscribe now to another streaming service, because I assume they're going to Paramount. But as of right now, Star Trek is not on Paramount Plus in Canada.
Yeah, they haven't said that. I think we're all assuming, and it would make the most sense because that's where they are in literally every other country where Paramount Plus exists.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they will. And the only reason they were on Crave instead of Paramount was because when Discovery launched, 6 years ago, Paramount Plus or CBS All Access didn't yet exist in Canada.
Yes, exactly. And Paramount had a contract with Bell Media for years and years and years.
Right.
I don't know if this means that the classic shows will be taken off of their cable channel. I haven't heard anything about that. Maybe just its streaming rights.
sure that's a different license. They may end up, but I mean, they still air on BBC America and H&I here in the US. Mm-hmm. So I don't think, like, the streaming exclusivity agreements don't affect TV. I believe those are entirely different negotiations, and Paramount has no reason not to want their shows aired on TV, as opposed to on streaming where the money is going to a direct competitor.
Yeah.
We shall see.
I would argue that the classic shows on other streaming services makes people more likely to subscribe to Paramount Plus to see the new shows, but that's, what I think and not what Paramount thinks. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah.
They treated the streaming thing with all the different services like the model that happened when premium cable became a thing. And that's fine as long as they're all exclusive, but then we get to a point where it's not necessarily anymore, and now they're trying to pull it back more exclusive, and it was never the same thing. It was never going to be the same thing.
Yeah.
No, I'm actually kind of given the way things are going, which is not great, I'm looking forward in a sort of, glass half full or silver lining sort of way to the very much writing on the wall forthcoming implosion of the streaming market. I'm looking forward to several of these streaming services no longer existing and things getting consolidated into only a handful, maybe.
Yeah. I've already done that with some, like, we had a Shudder subscription because Jay and his horror movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then that showed up. You could get it through Amazon. I think it was like $1 less a month. So the money was minor, but the idea of, okay, there's one less app on TV that I gotta mess with.
I enjoy that Amazon does that with you can subscribe to a lot of different services through Amazon Prime. You're still paying for the separate service, but then it's in one app and it's more convenient.
The one I dropped is Netflix, believe it or not. There was very little I was watching on Netflix. And
you mean you didn't just binge Bridgerton all the time? I mean, come on.
No. All my Star Wars and Marvel stuff is on Disney. All my Star Trek and I like to watch RuPaul's Drag Race, and that's on Crave.
That's on Paramount Plus here.
I watch. Maybe I'll be ditching Crave and switching to Paramount Plus because that's what I watch on Crave is Star Trek and RuPaul's Drag Race. So, if I don't know, maybe they've pulled the plug on RuPaul on Crave as well. It could be. I don't know. Anyway, so it's gonna be. I've paid for a year of Crave though, so it's. We'll see what happens when things change. I was looking at Just Watch, which is the app that lets you see where shows are.
Oh, yeah. I love Just Watch.
Oh, that's useful, yeah.
Yeah. And according to Just Watch, in Canada, Star Trek, Next Generation are already on Paramount Plus here, and all the Star Trek movies, as well as Star Trek Picard. So things are already moving over there.
Yeah, and I would assume Discovery and Lower Decks will go over there as soon as they leave Crave.
Enterprise is not there yet. Neither is Voyager or animated series, but
that's weird.
Soon, I would think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. But that means we're losing Prodigy.
Yeah, well, we all are.
I thought we were special. I thought we were special up here, Thad.
Well, you are. You have, if you get sick or injured, you don't go bankrupt.
Well, there's that. There is that.
Yeah, you bugger.
Should we talk about Star Trek?
Let's talk about Star Trek. All right. So this week's episode, Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, continuing that lovely tradition of Shakespeare titles.
Oh, yes.
Kevin, what did you think this week?
I loved this episode, even though I was a little upset that they've sidelined Pike again and the rest of the crew. This was a great episode, and I love that La'an got some spotlight time, and it really gave more depth to her character. And I love seeing my hometown on TV.
Yeah.
So
I believe this was the backup if Anson Mount's wife delivered late.
Yes.
Oh.
And that's why there was so little Pike in the first episode.
I did not realize that.
Oh, yeah. They arranged that. You're either going to be gone for the first episode or, somewhere after, and then we can move it around as needed. So he's missing because he's home with wife and baby.
Which is totally fair.
Yeah.
It is, and appropriate, and good on them for doing that with the father. Need more paternity time.
Also, it's a good thing it happened during production on season 2, because if it was during season 1, they probably wouldn't have let him be home because of the quarantines.
Ooh. Yeah. Yeah. Or she wouldn't have let him come home. Oh, that's terrible. I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean because of quarantine.
Because he would have had to come. He would have had to have been home, and then he would have had to quarantine for several weeks before going back to shooting, and that would have been a whole. But thankfully, it was season 2, and they had relaxed the restrictions at that point, so that wasn't a problem. Also, Anson has shared pictures occasionally, and it was a very cute baby. I'm sure still a very cute child.
I think the first picture he put up on Twitter was in a captain onesie, a TOS captain onesie for the kids.
Nice.
So.
And I have enjoyed his occasional sardonic tweets about how parenthood is not always, especially new parenthood is not always roses.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, Chrissy, what do you think of this week's episode?
I loved it. It was intense and heavy, and there are a couple things in it that I not terribly enthused about, but I guess we'll see where they go, and we'll get to that as we go. But I thought it was a great episode, and the time issue implications are interesting, and I'm hoping we're going to see more of explanation on that. And maybe that'll be involved in why some of the Cerrillos crew shows up.
So I absolutely loved this episode. Definitely my favorite of the season so far, which is a big statement because I also really liked last week's episode. And I just truly enjoyed this episode from start to finish. I loved the story. I loved how many quotable lines there are. I will say, listeners who listen to our coverage of Equality and Mercy will know that I was not 100% keen on Paul Wesley as Kirk. I have completely come around on that. I think he is amazing as Kirk now.
And we still have barely seen the actual Kirk.
Yeah. But he had those moments that were very Kirk-like without being a caricature. Because if he was coming up saying, pardon me, but why are you on my bridge? We would have been pissed off. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Yes. I feel like the producers would not have allowed that. but I'll bet there's outtakes where he's doing that.
Oh, I hope so. I hope that's on the Blu-ray set.
I hope.
But there are moments where he does very Kirk-like things, and especially in, well, listeners, if you're listening to this, you've already seen the episode, or I hope so. When he dies,
oh yeah.
Before when he say you can't shoot me, it'll set off alarms. And she says he's bluffing, and then she shoots him. He's like, not bluffing. I'm like, yes, that was such a Kirk thing to say. It very much reminded me of the moment when watching Star Trek 2009 when I realized that Chris Pine was very much Kirk, was when he's fighting Nero on the Scimitar. No, the Scimitar's it's a ship. Whatever the ship is that Nero's on, the Narada. And he says something he can't hear. He's like, I don't know what you say. He's like, I've got your gun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, loved it. Loved this episode. Loved Canada. Loved everything.
I love that they're taking, everybody has this idea of who Jim Kirk is, and it's not just from Star Trek, it's from Saturday Night Live and all the parodies that we've seen of Kirk over the last 50 years. And they're going back to who Kirk was in the original series, right? He's a smart man. He's a master tactician. He beat Spock at 3D chess, right? He's quippy, he's a romantic, and he's an actual tactician. So he's a smart guy, and that comes through in Paul Wesley's portrayal, I think.
Remember that Kirk was described as a huge nerd in school.
Stack of books with legs. I got into a thing on Twitter. I stupidly, don't feed the trolls, but I did. I reposted, when they released the picture that said, it was the picture of Kirk and La'an in the center of Toronto, and it was like, see what happens or whatever they were saying. I retweeted it and I said, is their mission to save Prodigy? Please tell me this has been just one long ad campaign, right? Which people enjoyed, but then this dipshit. No, I can't say dipshit now as a bad person because all I can think of is Shaw. This person who I shouldn't even have given a moment of my brain time, much less this, started talking about how Paul Wesley, he says, why is Kirk standing like a woman? And that created a whole... Oh my God!
I saw that. Jesus.
Yeah. So I ignored it at first, and then some other people jumped on it, and then I did, and I shouldn't have, and then I blocked him. But it was just like, what? So, but one of the points he made in his ridiculousness was that Kirk was supposed to be macho. And I'm like, no, he's not. He was never macho.
No.
Okay. No. I mean, like, you know, could he fight? Did they intentionally put him in places where he had his shirt off and, you know, trying to make him look the leading man? But he was never macho. What I think of macho, anyway.
Yeah.
I digress. Anyway, so, yeah.
Agreed.
Don't feed the trolls.
Yeah. So, I mean, I have a few minor nitpicks, which are extremely minor, but I will get into as we go through this. But
I have some geographical nitpicks as well.
I also.
Ooh, good.
I wonder if we have the same ones.
There's
Probably
a couple.
not.
There are a couple that I wonder about. So, yeah.
The very first scene we get, I believe, our first live-action denobulant since
Yeah.
Enterprise. Which is a nice little thing.
Just to remind us they're around.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
And arguing about whether or not the transporter steals things. I want that story.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, it could. I mean, you could.
You certainly could.
An illicit or a nefarious transporter operator could absolutely steal things while beaming people in. It's probably not happening, though.
Yeah.
Probably not.
In the moneyless utopian society, there's really no point to that.
Yeah. So we get a typical narrative device of seeing La'an feeling a bit disaffected and not particularly finding joy in her job at the moment. And I enjoyed the sparring scene with M'Benga.
Yeah.
When he says, as your doctor, she's like, I don't want you to be my doctor. He's like, well, as your sparring partner, I advise you to talk to your doctor.
Yes.
I also wonder what Spock was rocking out to on the Vulcan harp.
Yeah.
I don't picture that as a particularly loud instrument.
AC/DC, I think.
So for someone to complain about how loud Spock is playing the Vulcan lute, he had to be rocking out into something.
He was probably working on a cover of the Unplugged Nirvana album. Would not Sounds Like Teen Spirit sound awesome on a lute?
Someone has probably done a bardcore version of Sounds Like Teen Spirit.
There's a beautiful, Tori Amos did a beautiful ballad style version of it. It's crazy. Also the first time I was able to learn all the words. So that's good. You're looking at me like, what?
No.
I think the most important scene in the pre-credits part of this episode, though, is the scene with Pelia and her and her cache of antiquities. She's a bit of a pack rat, our chief engineer.
Her reasoning is sound, though.
Yes.
I mean, just in case this moneyless utopia doesn't work out.
Also, which says you tried living this long and not accumulate stuff, and like, as someone in his late 30s who has a house full of crap, I can definitely relate.
Understandable.
Yeah. Oh yeah. What made me laugh was that she's insisting on taking it with her.
Yes.
You know, you'd think she'd have this in storage locker on Earth.
Well, she does have her storage space in Vermont.
Yeah.
Well, does she anymore?
No, she said she did.
Oh, okay.
That was how, yeah. That's how she knew. But if there isn't a secondhand store named the Archaeology Department, there needs to be.
Spelled wrong, no less.
I didn't catch
It does not include the second
crap.
A.
Well, I will give her the benefit of the doubt because she was probably around when the word was invented.
I enjoyed when she said that she hasn't done math since Pythagoras invented it.
Yes. Oh, this is good. I hope at some point we see Flint and we find out that that's, you know, and maybe see some of the other supposed immortals that we have run across over the years. Yeah.
So, a dying time traveler appears in the hallway and tells La'an she has to get to the bridge before disappearing. As she goes to the bridge she thinks he means, and This is not her Enterprise.
No.
What I want to know is, how did Sarek and Amanda meet and get it on in this universe?
Denobulin prison?
Honestly, this comes down to my, like, I enjoy alternate history, and I enjoy seeing because the conceit in alternate history is you always see the characters doing different things because it's an alternate timeline. But in reality, none of those characters would exist in this alternate timeline.
Right. You only would have that first generation after, who was alive when the change happened.
Right.
Although, didn't they say in this episode that time wants people to meet in certain places? Like, it's almost like there's a guiding hand.
They've said that before.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was anything.
So, strange, the only person who wasn't there was Pike, but we know the real world reasons for that.
Yeah. We never see Una either.
No.
And Kirk he refers to that his first officer is a woman, but that's all. But if we think about the way the United Earth Fleet is portrayed, they don't seem to...
There wouldn't have been an Illyrian on the ship.
Yeah, they don't seem to be down with other species, so I don't think there would have been an Illyrian in...
Interesting. Here's a uniform thing for you, Thad, that they changed the logo. It wasn't a Starfleet logo, but you could still see it in the material when you look close up. Yeah, because that would have been a lot of money to make 3D printed fabric.
Here's the thing. Because I did watch the Trek Culture video about this episode, and they pointed that out there as well. You don't see. We have to remember that if this isn't Discovery, we don't see deltas in their uniform. We see division symbols in their uniform. So while the division symbol is not on the badges like it is in Strange New Worlds, that doesn't necessarily mean that's not still star is not still the symbol for command.
Right.
So it's not necessarily wrong.
I shall give that to you then.
Because on Discovery in the first two seasons of Discovery, they did have little deltas all over their uniforms.
Yeah.
But on Strange New Worlds, if you look closely, the command it's got the star with the elongated top point. The engineering has the spiral, and science has the basketball. So basketball. That's what it looks like.
It does.
You know what? Now that you've said that, I've never thought of it, but.
Yeah, so I'm okay with this. Normally, you know me, I'm normally the first to point out uniform inconsistencies, but I already have a explanation for this one.
Perfect.
Love it.
So, obviously, this is not her time period, and she's talking to Kirk. They start arguing about it, and boom, they're in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is obviously New York City in the 21st century.
That is such a great in-joke because so many things that are shot in Toronto, we're told it's New York in the 21st century.
Yeah.
That's the whole gag there.
Mm-hmm.
They specifically land in Dundas Square, which is at the corner of Yonge and Dundas in downtown Toronto, sort of Toronto's Times Square.
Cool.
And
that makes sense. It looks Times Square-y.
Yeah, with the giant billboards with video screens all around it. That's very accurate to what it looks like. And that mall across the street is the Toronto Eaton Centre. And the store that they steal the clothing from is Roots, which is a ubiquitous Canadian clothing brand. They did not steal anything with the iconic beaver logo on it, but you could see it on the doors, on the revolving door that Kirk couldn't figure out how to use.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's because he's from space. He was born on the USS Iowa.
Right. There are no revolving doors in space.
That was beautifully done.
I love that it was the USS Iowa. That was such a tiny little hilarious detail.
Would it have been cooler if it had been the USS Kelvin he had been born on?
Well, but he can say he's from Iowa. It's
that's true.
Yeah,
it's the Star Trek 4 thing. You're from space. No, I'm from Iowa. I only work in outer space. You know?
And
but it would have been. I was expecting him to say Kelvin.
If we get back to idiots on Twitter for a second,
Oh yeah, please.
When the trailer for season 2 came out, there were some people who were legitimately angry, it seemed, about that line, because that line about him saying "I'm from space" was in the trailer, and people were like, "No, he's born in Iowa," and people were real mad about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
This Kirk was born in space, though.
Well,
there is no Iowa.
Not in the prime timeline.
No, but Wesley,
this
Kirk in this episode was born in space.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But obviously we didn't know it was an alternate Kirk.
No.
In the trailer, and there's this recurring narrative among the detractors of Star Trek shows, of current Star Trek shows, that the people making them now have no idea what happened in previous Star Trek. I keep seeing that over and over again, and the shows keep showing us that they know a heck of a lot of what happened in previous Star Trek, because the shows are filled with references to other Star Trek.
And in such a way that it's not just it's not like Lower Decks.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
Although I think Lower Decks also shows that Mike McMahon knows a lot of things about Star Trek, but yes.
Oh, yes, but they're intentionally making fun of it there. It's meant to be, yeah. Whereas here it's just like, oh, I was born on the USS Iowa, and if you don't know the joke, there's nothing weird about it.
Also, I think at the end of the episode, this is the first time we have it officially said in canon that Kirk is from Riverside, Iowa.
Yes.
Okay.
Because the town of Riverside, decided 20 or 30 years ago that they are the birthplace of James T. Kirk, but there was no, canonical reason for that. They just decided we're going to be the birthplace of James T. Kirk, and everybody went with it. And now it's in canon.
Now it's true.
Yay.
So they have to get money now, right? I don't know how much chess... I've never seen people playing chess at Harborfront. That's where they were. They were at Harborfront.
That feels like more of a New York thing.
It does.
Yes.
It does. Chess hustling is not something I've ever seen happen in Toronto. I'm not saying it doesn't, and I'm sure there are chess clubs, but I've never seen people playing outdoor chess, especially at Harborfront,
especially when it's cold enough that they're freezing to death before they get out of their Starfleet uniforms.
Yeah.
Well, when you live in that kind of temperature, cold is relative.
But they're right by the lake. It's cold.
Ooh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that whole section where they buy the hot dog, they walk past that sailing ship. That's the Kojima, by the way. You can go on tours on that boat.
Cool.
That is at Harborfront Center, which is, they've turned some of the old Portland into this sort of tourist area, and it's got art galleries and ice skating rinks, and it's a beautiful spot. If you're ever visiting Toronto, you're most likely going to end up at Harborfront at some point.
Good to know.
But I've never seen anybody hustle chess there.
Have you seen people selling hot dogs there?
Yes, but they put mustard and relish and fried onions on them. Kirk is a monster.
I'm actually a naked hot dog person. And
I told you online too that I think you are also a monster.
I'm not a fan of most condiments in general. I'm a very simple food person. The most I will put on a hot dog sometimes is a slice of cheese.
And Chrissy, you like ketchup.
I'm a ketchup person. Yeah. Ketchup and actually baked beans.
Baked beans.
Baked beans on a hot dog could be good, actually.
Yeah. Often have baked beans with my hot dogs, and
we'll cut up hot dogs and put them in the baked beans.
I've definitely done that.
Yeah, I don't do that. I mean, I guess I could. I never think about it. But after Star Trek V came out, my mom played with putting various alcohols, various types of whiskey in baked beans, and we landed on
bourbon and Tennessee whiskey.
I don't remember. I remember her saying, because she tended bar for a bit way back in the 70s. That's not way back, but anyway, when she was in her 20s, she tended bar, and she said that Southern Comfort would be the way to go because it's sweeter.
That makes sense.
If you go with a sweet baked beans, so we have what we call the Star Trek beans, and anytime we do hot dogs or burgers, it's just what we have with them, and so I end up putting them on top of the hot dog or the burger.
It doesn't seem all that different from, say, a chili dog.
No.
No, it's not the chili part. It's just the beans part. Yeah. That was obvious. I didn't need to say that.
I might try baked beans on a hot dog sometime.
Well, here, let me just recipes with Chrissy. Bush's Original Baked Beans. Okay.
That's the ones I go for usually.
Oh, you got it. Yeah. And then if you get, it's like what I would call the normal size can. I think it's like a 28 ounce. That sounds right. Quarter cup of brown sugar, light brown sugar, and then Southern Comfort up to the bottom line in the can. And then, make sure you throw them in the oven long enough that it burns off the alcohol. Otherwise, you'll be happy.
I mean, what if you want to be happy?
Buzzed. Yeah, I like that. There's a bite to them if you don't let all the alcohol burn off.
Right, yeah.
Which is not quite what you're... I mean, it's not bad. But there you go. That's the De Clerck Star Trek baked beans. Now,
we are probably also alienating part of our audience by expressing a preference for Bush's baked beans, which are American-style baked beans, which are made with brown sugar, rather than British-style baked beans, which are made with tomato sauce.
That's true.
Or Canadian baked beans with maple syrup.
That makes perfect sense.
That's good.
Sounds delicious.
Yeah.
I assume everything in Canada has maple syrup in it.
Yeah.
Okay, I wouldn't put maple syrup in poutine, actually.
No.
No, but you could... No. I'm going to say you could add a little maple syrup to the batter on the cheese curds. If they're the battered deep fried kind.
Battered cheese curds?
You don't... No, the cheese curds aren't battered.
Oh, they're not? Okay.
No. They have to be fresh and squeaky.
Oh, all right.
Because that way they sort of melt into everything.
I have never had Canadian poutine then.
Oh.
You live like...
proper poutine.
You live like a couple hours from Canada, don't you?
I know. Yeah.
About an hour from the border. I visited her last month.
Yeah. He had German...
We had German food.
Bavarian Inn, people, yeah.
Well, next time you visit her, Kevin, you're gonna have to introduce her to real poutine.
I haven't.
You just have to come across to Sarnia and go to McDonald's.
I have had poutine at the at the Burger King at the Montreal airport before.
That's fantastic. All right. Okay, well, here in the States we have our battered cheese curds. And they're fantastic.
My thought on these hot dogs is those are some really big hot dogs. Like,
yeah.
Those are he's holding like sub rolls, not like what you normally expect for a hot dog.
So those hot dog stands are pretty ubiquitous all over Toronto. If you're in an area where there's touristy things happening, you will find one of those. We just call it street meat. And they're usually a longer, thicker hot dog. You could also get like a Polish sausage or a kielbasa too. So yeah. Just get your street meat. I've eaten them many times when I'm in a hurry and need something quick.
I will admit that the closest I've been to Toronto is the airport.
You'll have to come for Fan Expo this year. Ethan Peck and Anson Mount and Todd Stashwick are all going to be at Fan Expo Toronto this year.
When is that?
That is the long weekend in September.
Oh, I can do that.
Yeah, probably.
No, it's August 24th to 27th. Gates McFadden will also be there. And also people who are not on Star Trek.
Well, who cares about that?
Like Chevy Chase and Hayden Christensen. Gwendolyn Christie.
Okay, I would not mind meeting Hayden Christensen or Gwendolyn Christie, but I'll hard pass on Chevy Chase.
Yeah.
So Kirk has made a lot of money hustling chess. Fine. Yeah, I don't know what he used to place his first bet with. Maybe his communicator or something, or his pin. I don't know. But
that's what Data did.
Yeah, they made enough money to get a very, very nice hotel room.
Like a very nice penthouse suite sort of thing, which even if they got that much money, how did they get that room without a credit card and ID?
Mm-hmm.
A very good question. That is probably a $400, $500 hotel room.
Oh, yeah.
Hotel rooms in downtown Toronto are not cheap.
And that's a really nice one. It's got like
very nice.
It's got a fireplace. I mean, yeah.
It's a suite.
I have never stayed in a hotel suite that nice before.
No,
never have I.
I am generally of the find the cheapest hotel you can get kind of person, though.
Okay, now here's where my first geography issue comes in. It's the location of the bridge.
Mm-hmm. Well, it doesn't exist.
The bridge doesn't exist.
So it can be wherever they want it to be.
Yeah, but here's the problem. Okay, this is like a major bridge that carries a lot of traffic, right? Like a multi-lane highway bridge. If you were going to build a bridge like that across Lake Ontario, and I don't know why you would, that doesn't make much sense to me, because you're only going to get to like Rochester.
No, it goes to Niagara Falls. Actually, they announced the behind the scenes, like it's the Toronto Niagara Bridge. It goes to
so it doesn't even cross a border.
No, it goes to our Niagara Falls.
Okay, I need to see that on a map. That's
well, no, it goes to no, it would go to Niagara on the lake, which is in Canada.
Yeah, on our side, yeah. But anyway,
it goes near a border.
In my mind, you would not build a bridge like that right smack dab in downtown Toronto. Right. Which is you would put it towards the outer limits of the city where the big feeder highways come into the city, not right in the middle of downtown.
Okay, so it's possible that it goes to the American, because Niagara on the lake is on the border, so it's possible it actually goes to the American side there instead of the Canadian side.
So nowhere in the episode did they say Niagara.
No, but
because they were talking about this as some like major international cooperation thing. I'm like, okay, well, it's Canada and the US. It's not that big a deal. And the to me, it made more sense for the bridge to go from like Toronto to Rochester, right across the lake. Like I was under the impression the bridge went across the lake.
The guy who designed the bridge on Twitter tweeted about it. He referred to it as the Toronto Niagara Bridge and showed like close-up shots of different things on it.
Well, that would avoid all the congestion on the QEW, which is the highway that goes to Niagara from Toronto, but it's only an hour-long drive, really, an hour and a half maybe.
Yeah, no, I was looking at that on the map. I'm like, yeah, it cuts off like the edge of the lake. It doesn't do all that much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But going all the way to Rochester would be a hell of a long bridge.
Well, that's why
they
were talking about it being the longest
it would be much longer.
Bridge. They said it was the longest bridge in North America or something, didn't they?
Yes.
80 miles. I just looked it up. The direct line over the lake from Toronto to Niagara Falls is 80 miles.
Okay.
That's a long bridge.
That's a long bridge.
That's... I don't even... What is the longest bridge? I gotta look this up. I mean, the Mackinac Bridge is... Well, no, I know that. But, like, the Mackinac Bridge is a few miles, and it's too much for me.
Well, what's the highway that goes to the Florida Keys? It's pretty long. I mean, that has land, though. Like, multiple...
Right, it stops on islands.
Okay, well, there is a bridge in China...
Of course.
That is 102 miles long.
Huh.
Yeah.
Huh. I can go to bed now.
Miles. That is...
That's keeping you awake at night.
I've learned my new thing for the day, so I can go to bed now.
Oh, there you go.
102 miles is a really...
No, too long for a bridge.
102 miles, I have problems with all the concept of spending more than an hour on a bridge.
Yeah. Ugh. You need a rest stop in there.
I mean, I have spent more than an hour on a bridge during bad traffic on the Chesapeake Bay Bridge, but that's a whole other thing.
It's different. That's different.
The top 5 longest bridges in the world are all in China.
This does not surprise me.
That sounds right. That also makes me very suspicious. So,
the longest bridge in North America is the Lake Pontchartrain Causeway. That's in Louisiana.
Okay. And how long is that?
24 miles.
Yeah, see, that's more reasonable. You can cross that in less than an hour.
Still scary.
Well, yes.
My brother has a degree in vibrational engineering, which we always joke about with his wife. But his doctoral thesis was the math involved in a 5-pound dog knocking the Mackinac Bridge down. Which is, it's all math. It's not, it could not actually happen. But the way the dog walked versus the vibration of the bridge and the water and how that's why you have to break step when you're on a bridge if you're marching. So, yeah.
Interesting.
I think it's hard to say how you would classify this. I think the longest bridge that I've driven on is I just mentioned the Chesapeake Bay Bridge, which is not. But there's also the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel at the other end of the Chesapeake Bay.
Oh, I've done that one. Which it's
complicated to say how long that is because it's technically multiple bridges and 2 tunnels.
Yeah.
But if you could do the whole length of it, it's like if you do the whole length, it's 17 and a half miles long.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's too long for a bridge, and then they go and blow it up.
That's why they blew it up. It's just too long.
Yeah, it's just, I know, but they can't handle it. It's too much. Before we get past that, though, I just want to comment real quick. We, of course, had the Tiberius guaranteed as his middle name, and that, or not guaranteed, what did I say? Established. Mm-hmm. We had Tiberius established as Kirk's middle name, of course, but I don't remember if we've ever talked about on here that was explained in the novels in a beautiful way. If you read the Enterprise novels, there's it would be his grandparents or great-grandparents? I can't remember. Anyway, it comes down from her side of the family, where you have a Kirk, and he marries, I'm trying to think what Lavinia is maybe her name, but everybody in her family has Roman names, and so then it became a tradition within that. I'm not explaining this well, but read the Enterprise post-series novels. They're really good. Mm. You also get to meet Sarek's parents in that for a few minutes as well. It's cool. So the bridge.
Yes.
Yeah, I just don't think they would have put a major bridge like that right in downtown.
No,
where
think
they
it would attach to a highway outside the city.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. That's my quibble with the location of the bridge.
Yeah.
But they needed something that sort of symbolized international cooperation, and it had to be, big enough that it would create ripples in the time stream if it was destroyed, right? So, bridge it is.
And it turns out that bridge is supposed to be destroyed in every time stream.
Yes.
So, I want to quick to an aside on how Star Trek has very much depends on how time travel and changes to the timeline work depending on which part of Star Trek you're watching. Because this one absolutely makes changes to the timeline and sort of establishes that you can't have multiple different timelines. You have one, which is flying straight in the face of, the entire Kelvin timeline. How's that work?
With a mirror universe.
So, what should have happened here is, when this happened, it created a divergent timeline, the Kirk, the United Earth timeline, and Lon's still in the Prime timeline where it didn't happen.
Why couldn't this be a divergent timeline?
If it is a divergent timeline, then what's the problem? Why does it matter if there's a divergent timeline?
Well, she needs to get home, and the only way for her to get back is
what I'm trying to
reset it for herself. I know. Now, when you say that, I do understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
why do temporal agents need to stop it from happening if all it does is create another timeline where they won't be because it's a different timeline?
Coda handled this. There's timelines that are supposed to be divergent and timelines that are not.
And we just lost Alex Perry as a listener.
I haven't read all the Coda books yet either.
Oh, I'm sorry for the spoiler. I know he doesn't like those, and but you can. The explanation of there are timelines that are not meant to exist. I can handle that. Where you have a blip, something that shifted that shouldn't have. For all we know, that is a divergent timeline, and there's a little, a normal divergent timeline, and there's a little offshoot that has to be trimmed. And that's what they had her doing.
Well, now it sounds a lot like Loki.
Mm-hmm. True. True. It also, the fixed points in time is also very Doctor Who. So,
what's interesting to me about this episode is I think this might be the first time where we've had two characters from different timelines time travel together, and so this is a new kind of a new story too, right?
Yeah.
Usually it's like two people from this timeline working to stop that timeline, but now we've got two people with almost opposing reasons for being and reasons for doing what they're doing. I mean, Kirk didn't really want to go in the first place. Kirk was sort of dragged along, but his part of this story is him coming to the realization that his timeline is not as good as her timeline. So, which leads into his sacrifice later in the episode, right?
Yeah.
I think that I find that really fascinating that we're dealing with characters from opposing timelines, which is kind of cool.
Yes. Yeah, I do. I want to say that while I was saying the contradiction, and that's just how Star Trek works. But I still very much enjoyed the entire plot. It's just it just seems to be contradictory to some of what else we've seen.
Right.
No.
Never. Star Trek never contradicts itself.
I do understand your point. If there's multiple multiverses, then what difference does it make? She just needs to get back to hers, and Kirk needs to get back to the right time. But story, MacGuffin. Yeah,
true.
So the bridge was destroyed with a photonic bomb, which shouldn't be on Earth in the 21st century. Which is why it's interesting that is apparently still part of the regular timeline. That in the regular timeline, we still have Romulan agents trying to sow discord on Earth, and that was still part of the regular timeline.
This part is kind of driving me crazy because
at this point in the timeline, like La'an will have never seen a Romulan, right?
Correct.
True. Yeah. Sounds like Kirk has, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So interesting.
I don't, because at first I was like, oh, the bridge destruction is the shifting point, but it's not.
No.
Of course, the bridge destruction is not necessarily a photonic bomb in every timeline, right?
That's also possible.
Yeah.
But now that I'm thinking about it, that is something the Romulan does. The Romulan does say that the bridge was destroyed by the people the Romulans from this time who weren't doing enough, right?
Oh, that's true. Yeah, because she's talking about how they're trying to maintain the instability because of the computer program.
Yeah, so
she's from this time. She's not a time. She's not a time traveler.
Okay, but she's you're right. Anyway, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. So if this was, what's it called? It's the thing that the temporal agents were afraid that Sisko was going to say, a self-replicating paradox or something like that.
Self-fulfilling. I don't know.
Yeah. You know what I mean, though. So this reads like that because if they're the only ones who stop this, then they have to be there at that time and that place. And that should be in the part of the prime timeline, and Pelia should remember. I was waiting at the end of the episode for Pelia to hop on the turbo lift with her and go,
I think Pelia does remember because she gives her a look when she comes onto the bridge.
So then that means that they were the shifting point.
Right.
So whether or not they time traveled back there is the shift point, and that's interesting. I don't know.
Well, let's talk then about geography quibble number 2, the trip to Vermont.
Yes, I have that same complaint.
Yes. It's an 8-hour drive from Toronto to Vermont.
Yep.
How did they get there? Did they take a bus? And they bribed not one, but 2 international border agents, one to go into the United States and one to leave the United States.
Yeah.
So one of my thing on that is they could have just not bribed a border guard. They could have just had them they're already taking lots of time. They could have just had them walk across the border in the woods or something.
The problem is
they need a vehicle.
There's a river.
They don't have ID. Yeah.
Well, not.
There are places like they'd have to get into Quebec and be on the south side of the St. Lawrence, but
right. But then you can just. I mean, the Canadian border is famously the longest unguarded border in the world.
Yeah, that is changing.
Sure.
Here now in the 21st century, because there's a place at the Quebec, I think it's at the Quebec-Vermont border, where a lot of migrants are crossing the border illegally to claim asylum in Canada because they don't want to claim asylum in the U.S. And it has created a lot of headaches and hassles because Canada and the United States have a 2-country agreement that says both countries are fine for asylum claims. And but because these people are crossing the border at this crossing called Roxham Road, which was in Quebec, as long as they get into the country, they can claim asylum. If they cross at a border crossing, they'll be turned back because the United States is considered a safe country.
Okay.
So that has just been shut down by some laws that passed in Parliament. And so that part of the border is being patrolled more closely by border agents,
Gotcha.
I think, from both sides. So it would still make it very tricky for these two people to get across the border.
Okay. I still think it's easier to do that than bribe a US
to bribe
border...
two border guards?
Like, I admittedly don't know too much about Canadian border. My only experience with Canadian border guards is when I've been driving across the border, and my experience, I just told them what I was doing, and they didn't even look at my passport.
Right. Well, to be fair, Americans do not need a passport to come into to Canada. You need it to get back into the United States.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, like, I mean, but they didn't. He didn't even look at my ID. He just it was like, I mean, because I was a white man, so
Yes.
But my experience on the other side, coming back to the U.S., was like, long question and answer ordeal of why would you go to Canada? Blah 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 blah. And the U.S. border is famous. U.S. border guards are not famously bribable.
Yeah.
Especially considering he only had Canadian currency.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I feel like it would still have been easier for them to slip across the border. Yeah. Especially if they're, because yes, if you go into, I mean, I'm looking at it on Google Maps. Like the whole thing is basically forest at that border.
True.
So like, I feel like you could.
Well, wait a second. Is it Lon or Kirk who says all that? I can't remember.
I don't recall either, but one of them definitely says it.
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking, because Lon knows that Pelia appreciates a good story.
Oh.
And that would emphasize, like, we went through a lot of trouble to get here. Not that trudging through the woods wouldn't be.
I think it was Lon, actually, because she says it as, like, the story to get her in the door.
Yes, yeah. So I think we can put that aside to a little bit of...
Yeah, and they took a cab and 4 buses as part of the story, too.
Right.
So, I mean, that does add into the 8-hour drive sort of thing. If you're taking a cab and 4 buses, it probably was longer than 8 hours, actually.
If they had put if they had said Pelia's bunker was in Buffalo instead of Vermont, that would have cut their travel time in half, and they probably could have walked across the border at Niagara Falls.
Yeah.
And there's lots of rapid transit that goes from Toronto to Niagara.
That
makes sense.
She could have been in Canada too. They could have.
They could have put her.
She could have been an hour outside of Toronto for all,
Yeah, they could have just said that she was in London or something.
Well, no, it looked more like she was up in my area, which is more forested and sort of rustically natural. So
Gotcha.
I would have put her in Muskoka, which is Bracebridge.
Okay.
Just to tell you where I am. That's not awesome. That's close to where I am.
Don't
but up here is where the people from Toronto come on the weekends to get away from the city.
I will yield to your knowledge because once again, I've only ever been to the airport. I've been to Ottawa, but I have not been to Toronto.
Ottawa's a great city too. Okay, there's one more major Toronto landmark I want to mention.
Absolutely.
So they were standing out that night when they're tracking things with the glowy watch. There's that crystal-shaped building. Did you notice that? There was a weird sort of crystal-shaped building. That is the Royal Ontario Museum. That is like the biggest natural history museum in the country.
Awesome.
So you would go there to see dinosaurs and mummies and many mounted creatures, like the butterfly collection and that kind of thing. They also have a very large collection of gems. And there's also a Canadian history section in that museum too. So it's a sort of major catch-all, all-purpose museum, which... and it's also very close to the grounds of the University of Toronto, which is where I have to assume that the Noonien Singh Corporation
Institute
office.
for Cultural Advancement.
Yeah, it sort of looked like it could have been a back hallway inside the museum, but I'm going to guess that it was, when they said it was nearby, that it would have been somewhere on the grounds of the University of Toronto.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and didn't Toronto City Hall show up at one point too?
It may have. Yeah, I think it did. There was a brief, as it was part of the car chase. A lot of that car chase took place around Metro Hall and the CBC building, specifically on King Street, which is sort of the theater district in Toronto.
Because I saw someone tweeting about City Hall because City Hall had previously shown up on Star Trek TNG all the way back in
Season 1.
Yeah, because it was seen through an Iconian gateway.
Yes. Yeah, it's a very distinctive building, Toronto City Hall. It's sort of two curved buildings around a sort of flying saucer-shaped pod.
Cool.
But Metro Hall I saw the CBC building. They kept showing marquee or signs for the CIBC, which is the Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce, one of the major banks in town. There was a sign for a Dollarama, which is a chain of dollar stores here. So some companies did get their logos into the episodes. I don't know if it was by payment or choice or not, but they were there.
Cool.
So, yeah,
that is cool.
So, and you can walk to all these places in Toronto. It's not that far, but I would probably take the subway from where Harbourfront is up to where the museum is. It's probably about 20 blocks.
Well, nothing to say they didn't do that.
Yeah. Well, they're also, when they're, wandering around, they're trying to find the Noonien Singh Institute.
Yes.
Well, yeah, they wouldn't be doing it for that, but yeah.
Yeah, that was up on Bloor Street.
So I'm kind of surprised a little bit about this. We know that Khan is a descendant of Khan. La'an is a descendant of Khan. You'd think she would have researched this in the past and known that Khan was already in Toronto.
I got the impression that things had changed, though, right?
That's
what was supposed to happen in 1993.
Well, yes, but...
No, I mean, she says that.
The
Sarah
time
does.
agent says that. La'an doesn't say that.
The Romulan said that.
it.
Right. So my thing is, the Romulan agent knows that because her, computer thing tells her that. La'an wouldn't know that because as the timeline changes, the new timeline is just her timeline.
But she came from the old new timeline.
Okay. So remember that one of the things they often say about this is that so much of the records were destroyed.
Yeah.
So there's always that.
Sure.
Okay. But I think we're getting into a larger story that's going to be addressed across series.
Oh, absolutely.
Here.
We've been talking about that for...
Yeah. The idea that temporal wars caused World War III to happen later on Earth than it was supposed to. I think we're supposed to understand that now. Right? So like the Romulan said, she's been stuck there for 30 years. So it's entirely possible that La'an knows the background of Khan, and that's not where he was.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
In our timeline.
I just feel like anytime that changed, it would have been like at that time, then La'an would no longer know the old thing and would know the new thing. But
remember, she's got the device.
Right, but how much changed? But that doesn't matter. Never mind.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, they talk to Pelia. They get the diver's watch that they walk around the city looking for the hands to glow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what do y'all think of the La'an Kirk romance?
I think it makes sense, actually, because we know. I mean, popular culture says Kirk is a ladies' man,
yes.
But I didn't. But also the fact, I think La'an loved the fact that she wasn't burdened by her name with this guy.
Yes,
is the main thing. So,
yeah, no, I think, yeah.
I didn't really realize that was the attraction factor until the second time I watched it. Because at first I'm just like, has she never been attracted to a man before? Why is she acting so weird? It just doesn't make sense. But then when you remember that and remember how Seven was acting in Picard season 2, just being able to be, that makes sense. He does do a shut up kiss though, which we need to take that out of everything. We don't need to do those anymore.
Yeah.
Stops her talking by kissing her. Yeah. Just as she's about to call him an asshole, which is, that works.
Especially when they do not already have an intimate relationship. That is not, because the problem is, what if he had read that wrong? And then that's assault.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very different when you have people who've been together for a long time and it's a joking, thing as opposed to a first kiss.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. Mm-hmm. That's the sort of thing that, yeah. But I also I do really enjoy them together. I love their chemistry. It
works
great.
Well.
Yeah.
It can't happen in the prime timeline.
And it was nice to see Christina Chong be allowed to let her hair down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like La'an is such an intense character. There's a tragedy going on, but she can relax around this guy, and it made her, not that her hair looks very tight. Her hair looks so tight it looks painful.
I was about to make that joke.
Mm-hmm.
But she was able to just loosen up a little bit and make La'an a little bit looser, which I think was real nice for her too. Yeah.
Yeah, so you made a face, Thad, when I said it can't happen in the prime timeline.
No, I agree. It probably can't.
Okay.
I want my beautiful ships to always happen.
Oh yeah, but I mean, space heat. There does come a point, and it's been discussed since La'an was announced. Is like if she and Kirk ever run into each other, how is it going to be that he didn't know who Khan was? And I think there's a very simple response to that of he didn't know what he looked like, but when he heard the name, he was like, oh, okay, yeah. But
yeah, also, I think we can accept that it's not 100% always going to adhere to 100% of every single dialogue line in TOS, because TOS doesn't.
Yes. Oh, no, I'm 110% on that, but I feel like if he had been sleeping with one of Khan's descendants, he probably would have had a different reaction when he showed up in Space Heat.
That's it. United Earth Fleet, I think, is a bit a reference to the United Earth Space program from the early episodes of TOS.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So we find the Noonien Singh Institute, which is interesting. Does that mean that, like, La'an's ancestors were also the scientists?
This confused me, because if it had been like a Soong Institute, that would have connected very well with Picard season 2, and then it would have been like, oh yes, but no.
I kept expecting him to show up, honestly.
I did too. I really thought we were going to see him just as a cameo, but I did think we were going to see him. Yeah. So who's the Noonien Singh that this is named after?
Because
how long has this been going on?
Surely not Khan.
Yeah, no, they named it after the 7-year-old. That's fine. Yeah. Yeah.
And I loved how he was getting the name Singh mixed up with the name Soong. When we
that was
know
funny
the
little
Soongs
joke,
and
yeah.
the Singhs are tied together.
Mm-hmm. And references to the same guy in real life, so there's that.
Mm-hmm. And we do recall from Picard Season 2 that Adam Soong had the folder labeled Project Khan.
Right.
Mhm.
From 1997, I think was
6.
the date on it. 6. Okay, I was close.
Which was a reference to Space Seed, because that was the year the Botany Bay was launched.
Ah, yes. Yeah.
I mean, that was a reference, not a... Like, it was clearly not a... Yeah. Not an in-universe reference.
But we now know that that hasn't happened yet, and it's probably because of the Temporal Cold War.
Yes.
Mhm.
Which I thought was an excellent little throwaway. I love that line about how the Temporal Cold Wars have changed things around. They've been trying to do... Because, yes, it's been a thing that certain Trekkies have been saying, well, how come the eugenics wars haven't happened yet? Because... Well, for one, it's because Star Trek isn't real. Sorry. But...
Shh. Don't say that.
I know.
Have you ever seen the thing about the study where they said that I'm going to alienate listeners here, but I don't mean this the way it's going to sound. There was a study done a number of years ago that children who grow up in very, very religious households, that like the people that think the Earth is 6,000 years old and take the Bible literally, actually have more trouble discriminating between fact and fiction when it's presented to them than people who did not grow up with that kind of influence.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's super interesting. Not necessarily relevant here, but, you know, because it's not real.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the Earth being 6,000 years old is also not real.
Right. Well, therein lay the connection I was making. Yeah. Yeah. No, I think it's going to be great if they re-explain all of that. I mean, it's obvious that we're not in the proper Star Trek timeline for what we're living anyway, so that's fine.
Right. I mean,
Because it's not real.
can we, like, I mean, let's also recall that in the proper Star Trek timeline, we're getting World War III, where 20% of the population dies in another decade or so. So let's maybe not do that.
I think that's quite likely, but that's a whole other thing.
I don't
Sorry.
disagree, but I don't want it to happen.
Okay, I want to come back to that, because you see I've got a list of questions about Khan. Yeah, I want to come back to that concept in a minute here.
All right, so we go into the Nunyan Singh Institute. We meet the Romulan agent. We find out that she's a Romulan, that she's trying to prevent Earth from uniting and be a threat to the Romulans. And what I find interesting is they're getting this from, like, the UFP was never a super, like, there was the Romulan War that happened before TOS. But, like, at what point, like, other than, you know, being standoffy and, like, cold with each other, other than that one Romulan War that ended, it just feels a bit much for them to be, like, for the computer algorithm to realize that humanity is the UFP is the greatest threat to the Romulans ever, or something.
Extrapolate it out, though.
Yeah.
Is it Earth? Because really, they're talking about Earth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, is it Earth, or is it the fact that Earth prompted some Vulcan to think of things differently and prevented the Romulans from attacking Vulcan at some point, or interactions with Starfleet caused the Klingons to conquer this world but not this one,
or these are Romulans that are very much against unification. That could also be. I hadn't even thought of that.
That could be, and I hadn't thought of that until you just said it. That's it may not be so much about Romulan war power, but unification. Yeah. Of course, then they know about the supernova, but whatever. I thought it was interesting that we have a Romulan who is trusting a computer-generated thing when we spent an entire season of Picard talking about how Romulans don't trust AI.
I hadn't even thought of that.
But I can work that in because maybe this is why. Maybe this is part of it.
Okay.
It doesn't work.
Okay.
Again, she's from her time. She's in her own time. She's not a time traveler. She's just a traveler. So, yeah. What'd you start to say, Kevin?
Oh no, I just agree. I'm agreeing with you totally here. I think that because these Romulans don't have any idea about the UFP. So, like, would they know that sort of Earth is the glue that brings the 4 founding races together?
If they have, it sounds like because she said, "I'm here because a computer model said I should do this here." I'm paraphrasing, but so it sounds like they don't. It sounds like they have some kind of AI that is running through scenarios with everything that they know about everywhere and everyone, and it's directing them to go cause problems where they think it needs to be done.
Right.
So. Yeah. As heavy as the whole episode is, I feel like this is when it gets the heaviest, when she actually confronts isn't the right word, where she sees, Baby Khan.
She does leave the gun in his room.
Yes. A little continuity there. Yeah. And then, I thought, I was like, oh, she leaves the gun in his room, and then there's the dead Romulan, but then I forgot that she Borged herself. She evaporated. Because
that gun is how he ended up taking over the world.
Well, okay, here's where I went in like the 2 seconds before I remembered that she completely evaporated herself. He gets accused of killing her and gets thrown in juvie, ends up spending a good chunk of his life learning how not to live your life, and that's what causes him to conquer the world. And then I remembered the Romulan was gone, so it didn't work.
Yeah. I do love the philosophical question of, is it right to kill him? And I would land on no. It is not right. It is not right to kill someone who has not committed a crime. It doesn't matter if they will in the future. You can't. No.
No, Philip K. Dick wrote a whole book about that.
Right.
But so this is what I was talking about when I wanted to get it earlier. Okay, this is do you kill baby Hitler? Mm-hmm. And you can't do that because of everything that has happened since. There is too much that hinges on World War II happening that we need in the modern world. We would not have the technology that we have if it weren't for both the war and the space race, the subsequent space race. We would not have a lot of things that we wouldn't have. And one of the biggest things that I tend to think about now that I've seen very few people talk about is how much worse life on Earth would be in terms of climate change and all of those issues if it weren't for the fact that World War II killed 60 million people.
Mm.
That sounds terribly callous, and I do not want that I'm not taking that, please don't take it as a callous thing, okay? But imagine what the population of this planet would be with an extra 60 million people in 1945.
Right. Well, that's like the fact that Genghis Khan caused global cooling, which is, burning and pillaging of people throughout Asia. He killed so many people that they were not using the fact that they were not burning fires as much as they would have, ironically, because he burned quite a lot of things as the Mongol horde, but by killing all of these people, their entire villages and areas were not burning wood and oil for fires, and it actually you can actually see the impact in the ice record. The temperature of the Earth went down after Genghis Khan killed I don't know how many, a lot of people.
Yeah, I don't. I'm off the top of my head. I don't know.
In-
He also produced a lot of, off the top of my head, I don't know how many, but
Yes.
that's other. Well, and it's not just the lack of cooking fires and heating fires and stuff. It's also the farming
Yes.
and the effect that has too, and you know how sun reflects off of a green field versus a fallow one that's just dirt. You know, and also that extrapolates out into the little ice age that happened. That was a contributing factor for why the Black Death was so bad in Europe.
Yep.
Because of the famine that produced. So see, just here we randomly came up with another thing where you have this extrapolation that you can't change history. You can't. Period. And
I mean, you can, but you have no idea what will happen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, the Vulcan Science Institute has said,
It's
given the
Vulcan Science
opportunity,
Directorate, actually.
Directorate, excuse me. Yeah, given the opportunity, yes, one could change history.
I mean, yes,
but
obviously,
it's a very, 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 very bad idea.
Yeah.
You can
And that's-
change history now for the future. Do something now.
And that's why I think, like, almost every story about time travel always ends with you can't actually make any changes.
Yeah.
You haven't seen Indiana Jones yet.
You're right.
He hasn't. But no comment.
Some interesting time travel stuff in that film as well.
Okay. Well, I mean, no spoilers. I'm only a couple hours away at this point.
Spoilers.
No spoilers.
So anything else we need to say about this episode?
Oh, yeah.
Lon FaceTimes Kirk when she gets back to the prime timeline.
Oh, that was heartbreaking.
It was.
It
but
was.
Also, she shouldn't have done that.
Why? I mean, I get why she did it because she wanted to talk to him, but like,
Yeah.
She also wanted to make sure he was still alive in this timeline.
well, but she could have done that by pulling up a service record.
And be like, yo, Sam, is your brother alive?
But also, she loved him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yes, it was heartbreaking to see it. And to see her just crying at the end. Just.
She feels
Mhm.
so
Gut-wrenching.
alone.
Mm-hmm.
That actress does a very good ugly cry.
Yeah.
I mean, that was painful to watch in exactly the way it should have been.
So the other thing, the temporal agent.
Mm-hmm.
It is
The one who never identified herself?
Yeah, it is wild to me that the temporal agents are that. Surely you'd think with the temporal agent, with this whole system of temporal agents, they would have a system in place for, I don't know, therapy.
Yes. Okay. So that was really bad because what she is doing is setting up the security officer on the flagship to have a nervous breakdown because she has had an incredibly traumatic experience that she cannot work through.
Yeah.
That's stupid. If the temporal police can, bounce around in time like that, surely they can make an appointment with a temporal psychologist.
Yeah.
It just no. This is not Trouble with Trials and Tribulations where it was just kind of funny and you go on with your life.
Have you read the DTI books? There's a couple of
Yes.
Yes. They're
Yeah.
very good.
There is such a thing. Isn't there a whole counselor? The woman who was
I feel like
transported from the 20th century in that episode of Next Generation first season. Isn't
Yes.
she's a
She works for
counselor
them.
for the DTI.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Good
She
call.
deals with mostly like time travel refugees, but
Yeah.
you would think she would still have somebody who can
Yeah.
talk to La'an.
Because I feel like this is also messing up the time stream by leaving La'an in this state. Because now she is not going to do the same things that she would have done if she had not gone on this trip.
But maybe that's part of the time stream.
Self-fulfilling prophecy again. Okay.
Yeah. Well, they may address this as we go forward.
Predestination
for all-
paradox. That's what they called it.
That's what it was. Thank you. I knew Paradox was in there somewhere. Yeah. I don't know. It's entirely possible that 10 minutes after the episode was over, some other DTI popped in and said, yeah, I know you're not supposed to talk about it, but I'm here to talk about it. That's terrible. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. It broke her.
Yeah, it really did.
Yeah. So.
Do you think we will talk about this again? Is this going to come up again?
Oh, I think so.
I think so. This is as episodic as this is.
And knowing there's another time travel episode yet to come, this season.
True.
You're talking about the Lower Decks crossover?
Yes.
We don't know if that's time travel yet.
Well, I mean, how else would it be?
Holodecks. It could be a These Are the Voyages situation.
Yeah, but the beaming out scene?
Yeah. The scene with Boimler and Spock leads me to believe that Boimler
I think it's time
met
travel.
Spock. Yeah.
I think it's time traveler too, but I just maybe not. Benefit of the doubt.
Mm-hmm.
I want it to be framed as a Lower Decks episode. I want to see the opening sequence of Strange New Worlds done up in Lower Decks style.
That would be amazing.
But anyway, before we close up here, I had some questions and some ideas about Khan.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is I watched this again to do the outline yesterday with Jay, and he brought up some really interesting points. Khan has this whole, the genetic engineering, that's everything he is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does he, and he has direct descendants, because we know that she is a direct descendant. Before that was verified, we were kind of like, well, maybe it's like, Patrick Hitler, who was the nephew, and he didn't have any children, but we know that Khan had children. So does he do a Genghis Khan thing and just spread his seed as far as possible and then pick up the best? Or does he pick particular people who he thinks fit his genetic purposes and then, reproduces with them? And then Jay brought up this point. He's like, what if he just finds people that he can genetically manipulate and make them part of his family? The way La'an was able to just open that door.
Okay.
So that was an interesting thing, and I don't really know where to go with that other than just to mention it. But the idea that, he could have had a whole crew of people looking for the people that represented the best of the best, and then forcing DNA changes on them.
Mm.
Also, does he have parents, or is he a test tube baby?
That's a good question.
Are all 7 of them test tube babies? I mean, there's the drawings on the wall, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything.
I just sort of assumed that one parent was a Noonian and one was a Singh, but
that would make sense.
That makes too much sense.
But it is the Noonian Singh, so it could be Dr. Noonian and Dr. Singh's.
That's true.
I wonder if we'll get answers to this to some of these questions in that Khan podcast that may or may not ever happen.
That's a very good question.
And if we do, will they be considered canonical?
Canonical.
I see what you did there.
Beautiful. All right. Last, here's the really dark one. Okay. How much of Khan as the genocidal conqueror is just a way for him to have protected himself and make up for the fact that he had no family and was this lonely, terribly unhappy child? Do we have World War III because Khan was raised in a little room he couldn't leave?
We have World War III because some lady with a gun broke into his room in the middle of the night one time and he got traumatized by it.
There we go. It was some random philosophical type questions about Khan that popped into my head, and so I'm just presenting them. Listeners, tell me what you think. Probably
all he wanted to do was watch CBC Kids shows.
Yeah.
Or Star Trek.
Yeah.
Does Star Trek exist in the Star Trek universe?
Yeah.
Star Trek does exist in the Star Trek universe.
Star Trek the TV show?
It would have to. There are too many instances where things that are real. So I
think Galaxy Quest survives in the Star Trek universe.
Well, if you read the latest Star Trek Discovery novel by Dayton Ward, that they actually watched Galaxy Quest on movie night on Discovery.
I gotta read that.
And if Galaxy Quest exists, then it had to have been created as a riff on Star Trek, which means Star Trek exists. If we go further in the 2009 Star Trek film, and also again and beyond, they play in universe, not just as soundtrack, the song "Sabotage" by the Beastie Boys. The Beastie Boys in other songs have referenced Star Trek.
Yeah.
Wow. Again, I can go to bed now.
This puts Zefram Cochrane's line, "You're all astronauts" on some kind of Star Trek line into a whole new perspective.
Zefram Cochrane is Gen Z, by the way. If nobody's figured that out.
No, he's actually...
Or a late millennial.
No, he's actually... So here's the thing. Zefram Cochrane is not born yet. Zefram Cochrane, despite the fact that James Cromwell looks a great deal older, is like in his 20s or 30s in First Contact.
Really?
Yes.
Is he supposed to be? I mean, I know that was what they said on the original series episode, but... Well, he's late Gen Z then. That hasn't happened yet.
Zefram Cochrane was born in the 2030s.
Mm-hmm.
So
he would have been 33.
Is that Gen Z or is that whatever comes after Gen Z?
That would be after Gen... Well...
It's in the 2030s. We don't have a specific date, so it could be,
Well, it's in 2030. Yeah.
Yeah. So that could be whatever comes after Gen Z. But yes, I would argue that James Cromwell in Star Trek First Contact, I don't care what war he lived through, is not 33.
No.
No.
And is certainly not younger than 33.
He looks younger when they had him in the clips for Enterprise than he does in that movie.
Yeah, James Cromwell, the actor, was 56 in Star Trek First Contact.
Yeah, and that's kind of, I figured
and he
Cochrane
looks
was
56. Yeah. So yes,
the Star Trek Encyclopedia accounts for this discrepancy by speculating that Cochrane's aged appearance in the movie was a result of radiation poisoning.
Yeah. Yeah. That works.
It explains the hat too, because he probably doesn't have any hair.
Yeah. It's cold in Montana. You need a hat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I almost forgot. I just wanted to mention the origin of the title, of course. It's from and again, not a Shakespeare scholar. I looked this up. It's Macbeth's response. It's Macbeth. It's from the Scottish play, and it's his response to news of Lady Macbeth's death. And it leads into a part that is much, much better known. So let me just read this quick. So she should have died hereafter. There would have been a time for such a word. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps into the petty pace from day to day. 'Tis the last syllable of recorded time, and all our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death. Out, out, brief candle. Life is but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing.
Kind of interesting that we get two Star Trek titles out of this one same passage in Macbeth. Right? Because there's also All Our Yesterdays.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow comes before All Our Yesterdays.
And I feel like Sound and Fury totally could end up being a Star Trek episode. It sounds like a Star Trek episode.
I had a brain fart with this because I always the first thing I thought of was Picard quoting Shakespeare at Q in Hait and Q. What you would say with irony, I say with conviction. All that.
But that's
and then
Hamlet.
That was Hamlet. Yeah. No, it was one of those like moments of, oh, this connects with Hait and Q. No, it doesn't. Never mind. So that's where that comes from, and I think you can read a lot into that soliloquy, into what happened to this, because La'an doesn't have any control over what's going on. She is the player, and she loses the thing that's important to her. So, and she would have wished for a tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
This was such a good episode.
So good.
Freaking loved it. So, just as a brief aside, we mentioned in an earlier episode that that Paramount graciously gave us access to screeners to see these episodes ahead of time. This is the only screener that I watched multiple times before the episode had come out.
Mm.
Yeah, I didn't do that, but I can see why. Yeah,
it's just fantastic. I loved it. This is what Star Trek is supposed to be. I mean, all Star Trek is what Star Trek is supposed to be. But this is the kind of Star Trek that I just eat up and enjoy and love and would like to see a lot more of. So Paramount, please stop canceling Star Trek.
Yeah. At the end of the episode, you are faced with a philosophical question, or more than one. You have had a story that has made you feel and think about things that may not have occurred to you before. That's Trek. That's just good fiction. It's good Trek too.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, hopefully we get some more great Trek this season. But I think that's about it for this week, unless either of you have anything more to say.
I have not.
Okay.
That was very serious.
Yeah.
I spewed all of my Canadian trivia. I don't need to say any more.
Okay.
Fair enough. Well, I hope you'll say a little more. Thank you so much for joining us today. Where can listeners find you online? And do you have any other work you want to mention?
Well, I am currently one of the co-hosts of Galaxy Class. We've taken a little break lately, but we're coming back. Don't worry, we will be back. So you can find us here on the network on Galaxy Class. I do a show with some local friends where we talk about more nerdity and geekery than just Star Trek. That is a show called True North Nerds. So you can find us at True North Nerds. Excuse me. And you can also find us wherever you get your podcasts.
Chrissie, where can people find you when you are not eating naked hot dogs?
You gotta have ketchup on them. No. Unless it's like if you roast it over an open fire, then that you might not necessarily have it with you camping, but right, I know, I'm gross. In addition, here in Infinite Diversity, you can find Man History with the Szilagys here on the BQN. That's that twice weekly short history podcast I do with my fellow historian partner, Jason. We're just finishing up, we did just finish up our Pride Month stuff with a person that I had never heard of, who is incredibly influential to the civil rights movement, Bayard Rustin, and you should all go listen to that and read about that. And then we're going to be getting into some stuff about the Manhattan Project in the lead up to the Oppenheimer movie. So
nice.
Yeah, good stuff. Right, and I'm happy to chat about our shows on the BQN Collective on Facebook, and I'm on Twitter at the Goddess Livia, that's TheGoddessLavia, where I tweet about Star Trek history and leftist politics unless I have run out of views, because I refuse to pay for Twitter Blue, so,
They've increased it, I think it's 1,000 now, but you can still hit that pretty quickly.
Considering that they're counting everything as you scroll.
Yeah. They're counting everything the app has served up to you, not what you're actually looking at.
Yeah, and that includes ads.
Yep.
Which there's a hell of a lot more than there used to be.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. All right. Well, Thad, where can people find you while you are trying to make sure that the timeline is protected?
Well, I used to say the best place to find me is on Twitter, and you can still at the moment find me on Twitter at Tyrannicus. That's Tyranicus. But as Twitter did sort of implode this weekend, you can also find me. Yes, this seems to be an ongoing thing here. You can also find me on Blue Sky, which is the social network created by the founder of Twitter, where I am tyrannicus.bsky.social. And you can find me on Mastodon, which is the open source alternative to Twitter, where I am at tyrannicus@10forward.social. You can also hear me on the podcast I do with my friend Carl called License to Spiel. That's license spelled with a C like the British do it, where we talk about James Bond and James Bond adjacent topics. We're wrapping up Mission Impossible pretty soon in preparation for the new movie.
Woohoo! All right. And listeners, don't forget about all of the other great shows on BQN. And here's Amy to tell you all about them.
What shows are on BQN, you ask? Well, here's a rundown of some podcasts you might be interested in. All Good Things, a Star Trek Universe podcast covering all of Trek, hosted by Amy, Mark, Christos, and Kelvin. Bargain Bin Gamer, a YouTube show hosted by Davey, a self-proclaimed gamer who specializes in reviewing and showcasing affordable video games. If you're lost in the Delta Quadrant, check out The Captain's Couch, a Star Trek Voyager podcast hosted by Jeremiah sitting on Janeway's Ready Room couch. Cinema Z, a film discussion and review podcast showcasing films you probably missed but should definitely check out. Hosted by Mark, Matt, and Laz. Beam Aboard the Galaxy Class, a Star Trek Next Generation podcast covering all of TNG. Hosted by Amy, Joe, Rhea, and Kevin. History with the Szilagys, a snippet of historical events from around the world, hosted by Chrissie and Jason. For the newest Trek coverage, check out Infinite Diversity, hosted by Chrissie and Thad. Test your Trek knowledge with Treksperts Quiz, a Star Trek quiz show hosted and written by Davey. Union Federation, covering all things Star Trek and the Orville, which we all know is really a Star Trek show. Hosted by Kyle, Kevin, Amy, and Haley. Spill the Tea with What's the Tea, Bev? A Trek current events and fan interview show hosted by Christos. And for our Patreon members, we have The Hive Mind, BQN's monthly roundtable discussion with hosts and listeners. It's Green, a cornucopia of topics hosted by Mark, and Amy's Math Moments, a quick look at math moments in Star Trek, hosted by Amy. We know you have a choice of podcasts to choose from, and we thank you for listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
Thank you very much for tuning in to Infinite Diversity. Thank you to Zach Tripp for the wonderful theme music and Mark White for the awesome show art. Please subscribe in your favorite podcast player, and don't forget to rate and review us there as well.
And if you'd like to reach out, you can find the network on Twitter, as long as it lasts, at BQN. You know, it's just so ridiculous because we were doing this last time too. And right, so you can find on Twitter at BQN Podcasts and our show specifically at IDIC Podcast. You can also talk about any and all of our BQN podcasts in our Facebook group, the BQN Collective. That appears to not be going anywhere. When you next hear from us, we will be talking about the next episode of Strange New Worlds, which is titled Among the Lotus Eaters. Until then, we bid you peace and long life.
You want to know what's wild? Yesterday, I was using the IDIC podcast account to look at tweets on my own timeline because I couldn't from my account.
Yep. That's beautiful.